All right. Good evening and welcome to this week's live stream for Traveling on Everyday Spend. We've got a lot of things to cover. There's a lot of information that's come out over the week and especially even today. So we've got a lot to cover. For those that are new to the live stream, I make sure that once the live stream is done, though the live stream's recorded, I make sure to put chapters to it at the end and put it out there so that everyone can have an easy time to find what they might want to look at, but hopefully it's all of it. And want to thank each and every one of you all, whether you're watching the live stream or you're watching the recording. Really greatly appreciate that. And also thank you to everybody that has watched the live streams, the shorts, the videos, and I've liked and have shared and especially commented. Can't thank you enough. It really means the world to me and to this channel. And if you haven't subscribed, and if you do find any of the content beneficial, please consider subscribing. Really does a lot for the channel. And definitely provide your comments and your feedback. I want to make sure to provide you the information that you're looking for. And your feedback is going to help me to make a better product for you. So I want to make sure to value you and your time so we can go ahead and get started. Let's see. So as we always start with the agenda, we've got credit card offers, and we've got and a couple of big ones came out today regarding Chase Sapphire and the Sapphire Preferred, Reserve and Preferred. We're going to touch on the transfer bonuses, and it's a new month, so we've got a lot there to talk about. Clear has seemed to be a topic the last 2 to 3 weeks, and we have it again as far as them being an enrollment provider for the TSA PreCheck. Blade, we touched on last week as far as their partnership with Bilt, as far as providing the helicopter service if you from Manhattan to JFK or Newark Airport. This one is not part of the promotion or the partnership with Bilt, but it is interesting as far as them starting with a luxury bus for the summer to take people from New York to the Hamptons. Something to at least keep an eye on them for, because maybe it is something that becomes part of that Bilt partnership. Hyatt has a new partnership with Peloton, and what it means for us, not just the exercise, but there may be some points involved for using the equipment, and we'll make sure to touch on that as well. Bank of America has a pretty good little feature of museums on us, and it's not just for credit card holders. So there may be something pretty interesting to touch on. Avianca credit cards is the new thing that's going to be coming out. Very similar to as far as cardless provided the Qatar credit cards we touched on about a week or two ago, and now they're doing the Avianca credit card. So let's make sure to take a look at that. And then last, but certainly not least, we need to talk about Sapphire Preferred and Reserve. There's a lot to decide in regards to it, and I'm hoping that that segment's going to be able to help you to make the best informed decision if either one of them are for you, and if so, which one is best for you. So let's go ahead and jump in and get started. So as far as the credit card offers, we don't really have anything new for the personal credit cards for American Express. But Chase, as I mentioned, we heard today, has upped their intro bonus from 60,000 to 75,000 points for both the Sapphire Preferred and the Sapphire Reserve. It's a limited time. We don't know when that'll end, but if that is something that you may have interest in, definitely look at considering it. And we'll touch on some of the nuances about those cards, as I mentioned, later on in the show. And then, of course, we still have the Aer Lingus, British Airways, and Iberia as far as offer ending soon. So if that is something, we've talked about that in a previous live stream of the Avios program, and I'll make sure to put a link in that in the pinned comment if you want to go back to get more detailed information of the differences between those cards. And then, of course, Citi, not much has changed. We still have the Citi Custom Cash with the special travel offer. And then we also have the Citi Advantage Platinum limited time offer, which we've touched on in a previous live stream. And I'll make sure to put that in the pinned comment as well. Now, as far as the second topic, we're going to take a look at the May transfer bonuses. And of course, now that we are in a new month, We do have a lot to look at. So the first thing we're going to look at is, actually, I'm going to take a moment because there was something I had seen just before getting on, and I couldn't even do a slide quick enough. Hilton started today with a summer promotion that runs from May 2nd to September 2nd, and it is double the points for your stays at a Hilton, at any of the Hilton properties. There is no minimum nights that you have to stay there. And while that sounds good, and it is, definitely look at what it might do for you, especially if you have one of their credit cards. So let's take, for instance, the Aspire credit card. And so let's say that you have a $200 night stay, one night stay, and it's $200, and you're using your Hilton Aspire card. So the points that you would get off of that $200 night would be, you would look at 10x for the base points that every member or anyone gets. Then you would get 10x as far as the bonus for the promotion. And then next, you would get 10x because you have diamond status that came with you having the Aspire. And then you would get 14x because you're using the Hilton Aspire. So that would be a total of 44x for your dollars. And that $200 night would be worth 8,800 points. So that's an amazing type of return on that. And for people like me that might have the Hilton business card, or if you have the Hilton Surpass where you have gold status, instead of 44x, you would still be at 40x. And that would end up getting you all the way up to 8,000 points. So great type of way to rack up some points. If you are considering any kind of travel during the summer, you might want to at least take a look at Hilton. So I wanted to make sure to get that mentioned and talked about because I didn't want you to miss any of that. And wanted to make sure to say hello to John. John has a great channel that covers credit cards, points, and miles. He recently had done one talking about his upcoming trip to Iceland. I'll make sure to put a link for his channel in there. Really good guy, really down-to-earth content. Definitely something for you to take a look at. Now, as far as the May transfer bonuses, like I said, we have a new month going on. So we've got Virgin Atlantic with 30%, 30% running through May 31st for American Express. And then we also have Aeromexico rewards at 20% for May 31st. Now, the one thing to keep in mind in regards to this is, and different people might subscribe to different ways of doing things. I don't end up transferring points on speculation, mainly for two reasons. One is, most of the time, the point redemptions and the bonuses are not historical. They're not super high. And I also don't like moving flexible points to non-flexible points. But each person's thought can vary depending upon what works for you. So I just wanted to throw that out. Now, Virgin Atlantic 30% is a kind of common number that we've seen a couple of times a year. I think in the spring of last year, we saw 30% for Virgin Atlantic. It's a very versatile currency to be able to use, but only if you're going to look at doing it. They're better for use with their partners than with them, especially if you're going to go to London or the UK overall, because you're going to pay some very high surcharges. If you're flying in the upper class, you might spend round trip. You might spend over $1,000 for the additional surcharges. So it's a good point, but it's normally better for use when you're going to use it to fly on other airlines. So just something to consider. And then as far as Aeromexico, I've not flown on them before, but that value of what they're doing with that is not really ideal. And in addition, the issue that you have is they impose surcharges on the rewards, redemption. So it's not necessarily ideal, but If you find a very specific category that works for you, then consider it. Chase, we've got 40% on the Marriott Bonvoy going through June 15th. And then they have 30% on Virgin Atlantic. Hotels, for the most part, unless I'm topping off points and I absolutely need them, I don't transfer unless it's Hyatt because of the high value that Hyatt has. Marriott, maybe if you're looking at a lot of different people that give a value to Marriott, it might be anywhere from 7 cents or 8 cents a point, and that's substantially less than what you're getting for the flexible currency of a Chase membership of a Chase point. Even with that 40% increase, it makes it closer, but definitely something you want to make sure of if it's right for you. And then for City, we still have the Accor Live Limitless, which we touched on a previous live stream on April 18th. I'll make sure to put a link for that if you want more details of that. It's not something I was aware of that program, but there is some interesting spots for it, especially if you're going to be in Europe. And then we have Qatar Privilege Club Avios for 30% through May 31st. Now, the main thing to keep in mind with this one, though, is that this is not directly from City thank you points. You are going to run it through City, but it is Qatar's program, and it just happens that City is the one in the United States that can do this. So the main thing to keep in mind is when you do the transfer of the points for this, and there is a link that I'll put up there in the pinned comment at the end of where you can go to be able to do that transfer. It's not done the normal way through thank you points. And then you want to do that. Now you will have to wait till those points get in. They're not instantaneous. And the speculation is that it's basically going to be around June 15th. Now, maybe sooner, but I wouldn't plan on it to be any quicker than that. So definitely keep that in mind. And I see we've got Matt that jumped on in, and I want to thank him. He's another person with a great channel. Another case where a lot of good information that he's providing from different tidbits as well as different reviews. And I'll make sure to put a link for his channel in the pinned comment. Really good material on there. The double points should also work on incidentals if you pay for the room with points. It should. I always hazard to try to say too much in regards to it, but I think that I would definitely believe it. But I always want to say your mileage may vary because I always kind of worry about how the incidentals work, but I think that would normally be the case. So that's the May transfer bonuses. A lot of different ones to kind of consider, and hopefully that will kind of get you to see. So topic 3 is the TSA PreCheck enrollment providing that that Clear is now going to start doing. And this is as of April 30th. TSA PreCheck applicants can now basically have the option to go through Clear and bundle it with them to be able to get some reduced pricing with Clear. So Clear normally comes in at about $189 right now. And with the PreCheck, normally at $78, you're going to be able to put the two together for $200. So there is a good amount of savings there. And if you pre-enroll, you have 14 days. So if you do pre-enrollment on the web site, then you have 14 days to be able to complete the enrollment. So definitely keep that in mind if you're looking at doing it. Now, in addition, if pre-enrollment is not done online, you can do it directly on site. Now, they only have a few of the different airports that are doing it currently, but they'll do it more over time. So that's something to kind of keep in mind for it. Now, if you're renewing your TSA PreCheck, then and it's your first time with Clear, then you can get the whole package for $190.95. There is obviously credit cards that will provide for Clear at the $189 mark. I believe I talked about that in a live stream 2 or 3 weeks ago. And those are basically American Express cards from the Platinum, the Business Platinum, the Hilton Aspire, And I think I'm probably missing one, but I will make sure to put a note of that, of anything that I'm missing in regards to that. And want to do a shout out for Call Me Lonnie. Hey to you too, man. Once again, another great credit card person on YouTube. Has very all of these guys are very unique in how they present their material, and I'll make sure to put a link for Lonnie in the pinned comment as well. So something to keep in mind for the clear TSA PreCheck. Obviously, you don't do the renewal of TSA PreCheck every year, but it's good information for you to consider if you're looking at renewing or starting with TSA PreCheck, and depending on if you have started anything with Clear. I have Clear as well as Global Entry started with TSA PreCheck. It is made for a person that does not like flying a whole lot. It has definitely helped me move through and have a little bit better peace of mind. So I'm definitely a person that will recommend it. And it doesn't hurt if you have a credit card that can be able to pay for that just to take a load off. So something to consider. Topic 4 is the Blade luxury bus to the Hamptons. Now, as I mentioned before, we talked about Blade last week as far as their partnership with Bilt, starting with the helicopter flight from Manhattan to either Newark Airport or JFK. And if you reach gold and platinum status, getting some better better features in regards to that, including if you're platinum, you get a free flight. So really interesting. So they are starting with a luxury bus going from New York to the Hamptons, starting on May 23rd, and it will run through September 3rd. And they'll have multiple round trips from the weekend into Monday to be able to look at. Now, as far as the bus, I've only seen a kind of a picture, but you don't really get a full understanding. But definitely, but definitely, each bus only has 19 seats. Memory foam, 5 feet of leg room, pillows and blankets upon request. Now, as far as pricing, you're looking at $195 per person if you're in the double seating. You're looking at $275 for a single seat. And then, of course, you can have pets. You might have oversized baggage for golf clubs or even for surfboards and such. But my guess is these prices probably are not going to bother a whole lot of people if you're willing or happy to go to the Hamptons, because you're obviously going to have some money there, especially if you have a home there. So not been there, wouldn't mind driving through. So maybe that'll be something for me on the list if I get to New York. But something to keep in mind, just in case if we see the Blade program kind of continuing to get built with Bilt, that we may see something like this if that is successful. Now, the next thing is for Hyatt and Peloton. So they are going to start program of having Peloton bikes in multiple Hyatt hotels, and then in some of the ones they'll even have the row for that. Now, it's great for the exercise portion, but the biggest thing is that there's supposed to be points that you'll be able to earn by using the bike and using the Peloton equipment. Now, we don't know what it takes to get the points. We don't know the level of points, but if you're already going to be at a Hyatt hotel and might be able to make a few points and stay in shape, I don't think there's too much wrong with that to look at. So it's definitely something to look at and consider. They're going to have it over 800 of their hotels by the end of 2024. They'll even have the feature to be on the TV app where you don't have equipment, and it'll be kind of the app that you might have if you have for Peloton on your phone to be able to look at. But we don't know if there'll be points that you can earn from that, or if it's just going to be the equipment. But they'll provide that to people that are having conferences and such there as well. So something to kind of look at. And so for World of Hyatt members that you're new to Peloton, you'll get a 60-day trial of the app if you would like to. You can, and as I mentioned, you can earn points at those equipped hotels for use. And we don't necessarily know the specifics yet, but something to keep in mind if you've got Hyatt on your list coming up as a place to stay. Now, topic 6 is for Bank of America Museums on Us. And I have a Bank of America credit card, Alaska Airlines, and I did not know this even existed, but I thought it was something kind of interesting for people to be able to use. So this program is for people that have accounts open with Bank of America Private Bank, Merrill, and it's for credit and debit card holders, which I found interesting. They basically will first full weekend of each month, you can go to one of the museums, and I'll provide a link that has a map, and we'll give you all the information you need to be able to use it. And then you get one free entry. Now, there are, of course, different restrictions that come with it, as far as if it's not really, it's not for if there are special events or that type of thing for it. But I mean, I'm not a big museum person, but I've wanted to try to be, and this may be something that helps me look at doing it. And if you are interested in going to the museum, being able to have a free entry one weekend for one trip a month, I don't see anything wrong with that. And so the weekends are considered Saturday and Sunday. They don't include Fridays. And so something to be able to look at. Like I mentioned, it's a nice perk, especially if you're not aware of it, and especially with it being potentially for debit card, when it's for debit and credit card holders. I actually looked up the calendar and I saw my museum that's nearby where I'm located, and it's only valid for Saturday, but that's because Sundays are free for anybody that goes to this particular museum near me. But that one free entry is a $20 savings. So every little bit helps, especially if you're interested. And like I said, I'll put a link in the pinned comment for you to be able to get to that. So something to be interested in if you already have a relationship with Bank of America. And then we have the Avianca credit cards that have come out. Well, I'm sorry, not come out, have been announced. And it's very similar to the Qatar credit cards that we touched on about 2 weeks ago. Cardless is the one that's handling the situation for it, the promotion for it, and backing it. And they are also doing the same wait list points, 5,000 points for the base credit card and 10,000 points or miles for the elite for Avianca. As I put in here, it's definitely something worth looking at. Same as the Qatar credit cards, you're not required to apply for the card. Just get on the wait list, and then what'll happen is very similar to Qatar. Is you'll get an email that invites you to apply. But if you don't want to, you don't have to. But no need to leave points or miles in this case on the table. So if you have any interest in it, might as well just go ahead and throw it in for the wait list, qualify for the extra 5 or 10,000 points, and let's see what it might end up showing. As I mentioned as far as my thoughts, they're one of the more versatile points. And really all of the major flexible currencies have it, essentially. And as far as once again, the options are what we're looking for. We want as many options as possible. So the Avianca card, at least for me, in my case, I would probably only look at it if it's going to be a case where they have some elite status for Star Alliance, maybe. But I don't do a whole bunch of trips. So, but that would be the only thing I would look for, because Avianca Life Miles are pretty easy to get or convert. But there's a lot we need to learn about of what those multipliers are going to be, what's the intro bonus is going to be. If it's an easy one to get, maybe it will be something to look at. And I see that Matt has already signed up for both wait lists just in case. Completely agree. No harm, no foul if you just do it. And speaking of that, but that's the situation with the Avianca credit cards. I do want to mention something else I did see, but once again, didn't have enough time to do a slide. Hawaiian Airlines through Barclays. If you've ever looked at Barclays credit cards, they have a lot of different credit cards where if you just make one purchase, you get the full intro bonus. And so Hawaiian Airlines right now, for their MasterCard World Elite, I believe it is for 70,000 points. It just requires one purchase and you get the full 70,000 points, not the normal, what we're used to, $4,000 worth of spend in the 3 months to get 60,000 points. That's it, one purchase. And we've seen that on multiple credit cards with Barclays. Definitely something to kind of look at. If you have an interest in Hawaiian Airlines, at least worth taking a peek at it. So I wanted to make sure to throw that out because I saw that just before getting on as well. And then, of course, we have the Chase Sapphire Preferred and the Reserve. So obviously, as I mentioned, and probably a lot of people have already heard, we are looking at a jump from 60,000 points to 75,000 points right now. And now the question is it right for you? And if it is, which one? So I wanted to take a few minutes to be able to kind of just give a comparison of the two to hopefully help anyone determine if it is a card that's best for you. So let's start with the lower price one, the Sapphire Preferred, which I have. $95. You're getting, as far as multipliers, pretty good multipliers for a daily type of credit card. And for a tier 3 kind of credit card, if you're looking at a credit card ladder. 5x on Chase Travel, 3x on online grocery, dining, and select streaming, 2x on travel, and then we have $50 as far as a hotel credit through the Chase Travel portal, and 10% on the anniversary bonus. You also get, when you're going through Chase's portal, you get a 25% kind of bump on the value, which would normally be at 1 cent a point. You get an extra 25% value on that. And then some basic benefits as far as trip and luggage delay, purchase protection, and extended warranty. What I will say as far as the Sapphire Preferred, let me touch on a couple things, especially if you're not well aware of the Sapphire Preferred. So as far as the online groceries, which is something that kind of threw me off when I first got the card a few years ago, is that the online groceries are for meal kits that you might order, Factor, Home Chef, any of that type of thing. But it also works for your local grocery store. So for me, I do a lot of online grocery for my local store. And so all I end up doing is I go online, and you can, if you're doing it for delivery or pickup from the store, this qualifies for the online grocery. Now, it doesn't work, of course, if you're just trying to use it in store. It's a quirk. I completely understand if it doesn't appeal to people. For me, it's worked out very well. Now, I could use the different cards for it, but if you're a person doesn't have a lot of cards, or you're just starting, or you're not comfortable with having a lot of cards, but you want one card that can kind of give you an entry level to being able to transfer points and miles, this is Chase's version at $95. So it's been a pretty good card, but I don't use it a whole lot. There's definitely, depending on what other cards you have, there's other cards that can get you better value. But if you're a person that's starting off slow, maybe it's your first card, you can get good mileage out of it. And getting what was 60,000 points and now 75,000 points helps out a lot. For the intro bonus, the numbers didn't change. It's still $4,000 in 3 months to be able to get that transfer bonus. When you talk about what you could do with 60 or 75,000 points, For me, and it's very easy, is that I pretty much only use Chase for Hyatt. It is my designated Hyatt points where I get it. But you've got United, which is is exclusive to Chase, as well as a lot of different other ones, Flying Blue, KLM, where you might be able to combine some points with other cards you may have. So it's a very good card. It's a good starting card if you're getting into travel, but something to consider at $95. Now, the Sapphire Reserve is considered the premium travel card, which means that you don't see some of these daily multipliers that we saw on the Chase Preferred necessarily. So you're looking at $550. Now, that is significant, but there's a couple things to keep in mind. So you get 10x for hotels and car rentals through Chase Travel. You get 10x for Chase Dining. You're getting 5x for flights through Chase Travel, 3x on dining in general travel, and then the $300 travel credit. Now, when I talk about travel, whether it is the 2x on the Sapphire Preferred or the 3x on the Reserve, Chase is notorious in a good way for being very wide open on what counts as travel. Anything from a flight to even a toll, and from if you're on a tollway or even a parking garage, a lot of times will work. So it is I've definitely used it at the airport for parking garages, and it's worked. So it is a very versatile category for travel to be able to get 2x or 3x on. Now, as far as the $300 travel credit, if you've heard us talk about any type of credits of what you have to do, that you have to go through a portal for Capital One, you might have to go through. Normally, it is portals. I should take that back to get certain different credits. This one, you don't have to go through a portal. It is for any type of travel that you do for the first $300, and that credit goes there. So it's not even so much that you must take a trip to use that travel credit. Depending upon how your normal lifestyle is, you may be able to use up those travel points for that credit pretty quickly. It also is giving you lounge access, which we don't have any lounge access through the Sapphire Preferred. And so you're getting the priority pass, and you're getting access to the Chase Sapphire lounges, which is slowly building itself out. So it's definitely something to be able to keep in mind. And I see that Mr. Cool has gotten in. Appreciate you stopping through. Signed up for the Avianca card. Let's see if it's any good. You're exactly right. Let's get those waitlist points, and let's hope for the best that we can see some status with those elite cards, with that elite card. So so that's kind of a snapshot. And then of course you're getting global entry, TSA PreCheck, and you're getting a purchase return on the Sapphire Reserve, in addition to what we saw on the Sapphire Preferred of the trip and luggage delays, the purchase protection, and the extended warranty. So a couple things to keep in mind if you're going to consider for these cards. One, you have to determine if you're qualified. So credit score, ideally you want to be over 700, and obviously the higher the better. But for Chase, there's a lot of different things that might come into play. So I recommend, with them as well as some other places, if you are interested in, if you don't have a relationship with Chase right now, or you've had problems starting a relationship with them as far as getting a credit card, consider getting a checking account with them. It's where I started years ago with them, and it does help. And even one of their credit cards, the Freedom Rise, actually specifically tells people that are starting, which is for students or people kind of starting off with their credit cards, is that if you open up an account of a checking or a savings account with them, it does benefit you. So they are telling you right there that they want that relationship, which we can obviously understand. So something to consider for that, especially if your credit score may not be where you really want it to be, consider starting a relationship with them. It's very easy to do start it up with them online if you don't have a Chase near you. But they have so many credit cards on the personal and business side. It's just something worth considering. 524, which I'm sure most people have heard about, but basically if it's changed a little bit depending upon some co-branded cards, but the baseline we're looking at is if you open up 5 personal credit cards in a 24-month period or more, then normally Chase will not even consider your application and you'll be denied, regardless of whatever credentials, great credit score, income, whatever you might have. That's been kind of a hard and fast rule on a lot of their credit cards. Co-branded, we've seen some flexibility as of late, but something to keep in mind for that. And then, of course, the 48-month rule, which we see on various different cards, is that if you have gotten the bonus on a Chase Sapphire, and there's only the Sapphire Preferred and Reserve, but if you have gotten that bonus within the last 48 months, then you are not eligible for another bonus. You have to get beyond the 48-month period. And keep in mind that it's not when you got the credit card, it's the date that you achieved the points of getting that intro bonus. So if you have a Sapphire currently, like let's say it's a Sapphire Preferred, and you're looking at the Reserve, make sure to look at when you got the bonus and achieved it. So that may change things by a few months. So definitely look at that because that is a factor for it. Now, if you do have, like let's say in my case, I have the Chase Sapphire Preferred, I've not gotten to the 4-year mark yet. So I can't unfortunately take advantage of this, or else I would consider getting the Reserve. But in this case, if you were looking at the Sapphire Preferred, you can downgrade the Preferred into a Freedom Unlimited, a Freedom Flex, to be able to do that. And then once that gets wrapped up, then you can seek the next car, the Sapphire, whether it's the Preferred or Reserve. So it's something to consider. Just make sure that you're aware of those kind of caveats because we don't really know how long this window is for this extra 15,000 points. And then have you recently obtained, as I mentioned, one of the cards at 60,000? So obviously, if you've gotten one of these cards recently, but you now missed out on the 75,000 points, we're not going to know probably for a while if there is a hard and fast determination from Chase that they're going to provide the difference. So don't hesitate to contact customer service if you've gotten the credit card at the 60,000 point mark. Let them know that you found out that there's a 75,000 point promotion and you want to ask if you can be let into that 75,000 points and made up the difference. Your mileage may vary, but it can't hurt to ask, and you don't want to leave 15,000 points on the table if you don't have to. And then the last thing is which card may be best for you. So what I would end up saying is that, at least in my opinion, if you are newer to credit cards, if you don't necessarily even have a credit card from Chase that lets you get access to transferring to travel partners, then you might want to consider, and you don't know how much you may travel, you may want to start with the Sapphire Preferred at $95. If you are already a person that is either already has some of your starter cards and you have access to travel partners, and now you're looking for a premium travel card with Chase, then take a look at the Sapphire Reserve. It's a lot of a thing to be able to say like, oh, well, you're getting the $300 travel credit to bring down that $550 price. It does make a difference, but I don't know about you, but when I get that annual fee and it's $550 or $695, it still takes my breath away for a moment to pay that much money if I don't know for sure immediately that I got value from it, because you may have gotten the value and you might be a person that is fine writing that check or making that payment. It's still a hard thing to swallow because most of us, probably, well, I won't say most of us, I don't normally always keep up with when my annual fee will kick in for any of my credit cards. It just ends up popping up. I do have it written down someplace, but I don't look at it all the time. So something to kind of keep in mind in regards to that. And wanted to make sure to say shout out to Sledge, another great credit card content creator. I'll make sure to put his link in there. And same thing as I've said about all of the people that have popped on that have their that do content. Everybody's unique, provides great information. I find it interesting to look at all of them. And that's something that I wasn't really aware of when I started doing credit card creation. I thought it was more of a zero-sum game in competition, but it's really not. So I encourage people to be able to look at other people. There's always so much great information out there and how people present it. So want to make sure to shout that out for them. So let's want to make sure if there's any questions or anything that I can potentially answer, I'm more than happy to. But definitely, hopefully there's some good information here to make sure of whether it's you're looking at that transfer bonus or you're looking at a new credit card or just want to get some of that information of what's going on, that this was able to provide it. And please feel free to provide comments or questions. I always make sure to check questions and comments out and respond. So even if you didn't end up asking a question here on the live stream, I will always keep up with what's going on after the fact. So thank you all so much, and everybody have a great day and evening, depending on where you're at.